Hold on to your seats, folks. JD Vance is making waves once again. This time, it's about the role of grandmothers in society, and his comments are sparking major controversy.
And you can sort of see the effect it has on him to be around them. Like, they spoil.
In a recently resurfaced podcast from 2020, the Republican senator from Ohio and Donald Trump's running mate, GD Vance, expressed a belief that postmenopausal women exist primarily to help raise their grandchildren. During the interview on the Portal podcast with host Eric Weinstein, Vance agreed with Weinstein's claim that grandmothers raising grandkids is the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female.
There's sort of all the classic stuff that grandparents do to grandchildren, but it makes him a much better human being to have exposure to his grandparents.
Well, I don't know.
And the evidence on this, by the way, is like super clear.
That's the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female in theory. Did your in-laws, and particularly your mother-in-law, show up in some huge way?
She lived with us for a year.
Right.
So,
So I didn't know the answer to that.
Right. No.
Because that's this weird unadvertised feature of marrying an Indian woman.
No, it's in some ways the most transgressive thing I've ever done against sort of the hyper neoliberal approach to work and family. My wife had this baby 7 weeks before she started the clerkship. It was still not sleeping any more than an hour and a half in a given interval. And her mom just took a sabbatical. She's a biology professor in California. Just took a sabbatical for a year and came and lived with us and took care of our kid for a year.
Okay,
so it was just one of these things where it's like, this is what you do.
So a biology professor, PhD,
yes,
drops what they're doing, to immediately tend to the needs of a new mother with her infant.
Painfully economically inefficient.
Can I just propose?
Why didn't she just keep her job, give us part of the wages to pay somebody else to do it, right? Because that is the thing that the hyper liberalized economics wants you to do. The economic logic of always prioritizing paid wage labor over other forms of contributing to a society is to me, it's actually a consequence of a sort of fundamental liberalism that is ultimately going to unwind and collapse upon itself. I think it's the abandonment of a sort of Aristotelian virtue politics for a hyper market-oriented way of thinking about what's good and what's desirable. If people are paying for it and it contributes to GDP and it makes the economic consumption numbers rise, then it's good. And if it doesn't, it's bad. I think that entire sort of, to me, that's sort of the root of our political problem.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs.
Vance's comments have resurfaced just as he's facing backlash for his previous childless cat lady remarks. In the same 2020 podcast, Vance also touched on how his mother-in-law, a biology professor, took a sabbatical to help care for his children, calling it a weird, unadvertised feature of marrying an Indian woman.
By a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
The internet is ablaze with criticism, and many are watching closely to see if this controversy will explode, like his last one.
As the story unfolds, one thing is clear, GD Vance's views on family roles are once again at the center of heated debate.